We did it! We made it to 2022. Well, not really, it's just the 2022 color of the year. It's here. We have our first announcement for the color of the year 2022. Super exciting stuff. Hit that like button and let's get right into it. So even though it's still early days, we have found out that the company PPG has announced their color trends for 2022, including the color of the year. I'm super excited about their color choice because it's sort of in line with a certain color type that I'm quite fond of these days. Let's go through the full palette itself very quickly. So the PPG 2022 Color Trends palette is a collection of colors, and the overall theme of it is called Horizon, which represents our current state of hope, reflection, and new beginnings in the post era. So as plain as day on the PPG website, they acknowledge the questionable couple years we've been dealing with. And yet there's also this continuing theme of optimism and looking forward, which I think we can all appreciate. Moving on to the rest of the description, it also says PPG's color experts identified 3 color stories that will resonate with homeowners and professional painters in 2022. And the 3 palettes are Invaluable, Introspective, and Inspired. Those are the names of each of the 3 different groupings that they've put together. So not unlike last year, where there were 3 sub-palettes that all reflected different things, they had the same idea this year. But if you remember in 2021, they also isolated 3 separate colors as color of the year in Transcend, Misty Aqua, and Big Cypress. This year, there only seems to be 1 paint color of the year, yet we have 3 distinct palettes that can also suit everyone's taste. I won't go into every single color from all 3 themes because we don't have that kind of time, but definitely let me know down below if you want me to do that in a future video. I just want to give you a very broad overview of the different themes in this video, what they have to bring to the table, and finally talk about the color of the year choice. Starting with Invaluable. This trend includes dark and rich hues. Invaluable is all about nostalgia, for comfort and reassurance. So a pretty interesting collection to start off with, although in my opinion, the least interesting of the 3, just gotta say it. This is because this collection of earthy, rich colors with some pops of pastels are all pretty usable colors and many decors, which isn't a bad thing. But what we already see is an apparent lack of gray, and instead we have 3 green-based colors, which is pretty cool, a couple of blues, and some brown. There's even a pop of deep gold, which is a pretty timeless color that is relevant today as it was hundreds of years ago. Introspective is the next one, the second trending theme, and it's described as a quiet and more muted trend, including soft hues with punches of brights. The introspective palette is welcoming and warm, with a casual and mellow tone. So pretty fun because these colors are definitely a reimagining of the pastel color palette in general. There are lots of those lighter, more dusty pops of color, but we definitely see quite a few different colors. In this case, there's maybe 4 or 5 colors that contain green. Pretty cool, people. There's also some blue and a bit of purple, and then jumping right at you are those primary colors in yellow and red, and then their cousin deep saturated orange. Now, if you'll recall, we already talked about a PPG orange paint color on Color Code called Field Poppy, but the one they used in this grouping is a much more delicious name in Carrot Cake, one of my favorites. Again, there is no gray in sight, which, you can think what you want about that. The closest things you might get to gray are Lotus Petal, which is much more of a beige rather than a gray, and the purple dominant Silver Service, as well as the kind of sagey green edamame. Already we can start to see this trend that we've been talking about for a little while on this channel, where people aren't relying on neutrals everywhere. There's definitely a demand for some more saturated color hues. I still don't think that this is an invitation to take all these colors and just throw them in one room, but it definitely gets the gears turning. It makes you wonder how you can incorporate some of these fun tones into your existing decor. Finally, let's get into the third and final trending theme called Inspire. So if the last palette didn't inspire your creativity, I'm pretty sure this one was meant to force feed it to you. It's bright. Funny enough, this is the only color palette of the 3 that does not contain the PPG color of the year. Although I definitely see a color in here that looks pretty similar, so that's kind of a weird choice by PPG, and you just think they would put in the color of the year instead of the one that looks really close to it. But anyway, that's their choice. So Just by looking at all these colors, there's definitely a ton of bright, saturated, vibrant colors. Compared to the last palette, these are pretty out there. They're not colors you would really see in nature all that often unless you're in the tropical rainforest or in Bora Bora or something. These colors are pretty wild, and definitely the easiest way to incorporate them, in my opinion, is in smaller doses or amongst a much more neutral backdrop, and then you can have these beautiful pops of color as accent rooms, or just use them in your artwork or your accessories. Or you could just paint your hallway Paris pink, because that's how you roll. I honestly love that, just maybe not in MySpace. Remember MySpace? I do want to bring your attention to these three colors here. Definitely not the most fun colors of the bunch, but they all sort of look green and also a bit warm or neutral. Would it be a stretch to say that Green-Age is starting to sneak its way into mainstream color design? I don't know. Wishful thinking, right? So let's get into the actual color of the year choice. With so many beautiful, saturated color choices, which one is the standout of them all? If you were hoping for Calypso Berry, I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's Olive Sprig, the mid-tone soft green that takes the spot. Not quite a Green-Age, but in that same sort of wheelhouse of toned down green colors that seem to be replacing the more traditional, cooler, steely blue-based grays of the past. Although I'm extremely happy to see my kind of color become recognized, part of me wishes PPG would have went with more of an avant-garde color choice for color of the year. I mean, at least they have a ton of fun choices for a lot of people within the color palettes themselves. So I guess that's a bit of a compromise or a cop-out. Of the three color palettes that we spoke about today, which ones do you want to hear more about? The nostalgic Invaluable, the easy breezy introspective, or the unapologetic inspired palette? I'm really excited to see what other companies decide will be color of the year. Guess we'll just have to wait and see. See ya.